Hey guys, so just a heads up, but this video is a little bit different from usual. I'm speaking mostly unscripted, only relying on a handful of notes to keep my thoughts together. It's the only way I can get this video out ASAP so I can get back to making the video topic that you guys actually voted for. Also, I thought it would act as a good closure to the two previous videos I uploaded recently. And yeah, so as you guys know, I watched both Elio and Kpop Demon Hunters a couple weeks back. So naturally, I went ahead and made two videos about them, one for each film. With Elio, I gave my general praises and critiques about it, but ultimately, I did focus on the glaring problem of Disney and Pixar sabotaging it from a marketing and developmental standpoint. But I still made it clear that I enjoyed the film as it is, and I encourage you to watch it in theaters so that Pixar can see they should continue making original movies and release them on the big screen. With Kpop Demon Hunters, I also gave my praises and critiques, and I mostly took a fun approach by comparing Huntrix to the Calamity Trio because why not? Overall, the main takeaway you should take from that video is that I enjoyed the movie a lot, and you should definitely watch it too if you haven't already. Now, I ultimately chose to make two separate videos for each movie because my logic is that the films are completely different from one another, and I believe that you can enjoy both of them equally, albeit for different reasons. However, when I checked the online discourse for these movies, I keep seeing people trying to praise Kpop Demon Hunters for all the amazing things, which is more than deserved. But then in the same video, I see them bash Elio for flopping at the box office, because apparently people think Pixar does not make interesting films anymore. Now, to be clear, there is a bit of grain of truth in this narrative with, yes, Pixar has been struggling with the original films as of late, but I think there's a bit of more nuance with the issues of original films, but I'll save that for another topic. But the main thing that I'm seeing is that people are pushing this idea of, yeah, Pixar and Disney largely is washed, and then Sony is at the top of the animation world. And I just feel like that narrative is a little bit misleading, and they end up overlooking the actual problem with Elio. Now, for one, what's misleading about this comparison between Elio and Kpop Demon Hunters is that both films are released on two different platforms. Elio is released in theaters, and KPDH is released in streaming. Off the bat, Elio has an accessibility disadvantage compared to KPDH because a lot of people are not willing to go to the theaters nowadays to watch a movie when a movie ticket costs about as much as, if not more than, the price of 1 month of Netflix. Also, because KPDH is already in streaming, while Elio is still exclusively in theaters, one of these films has a quality advantage when it comes to those who want to promote the film freely. I can use any part of the movie of KPDH to showcase in whenever I gas it up on YouTube or Twitter, but I can't really do that with Elio. So I can't really show the best parts of Pixar's film because they're just not available right now. So naturally, being able to market one film is gonna be easier than the other. With that in mind, I just don't think you should compare how successful these films are at the moment when they're inherently competing in two different markets, and one of these markets makes it harder for people to see one of these films. Now, if both of these movies are available in streaming, then sure, you can compare these metrics of success much better. So we'll have to wait and see in that case because Elio is not going to be available on Disney Plus for another month or so. Now, my guess is that the movie will do great on streaming and more people will actually see that the film has a lot more than it seems. But even then, lots of people will probably still point out how KPDH is a much better film for having a more unique art style and more exciting aspects like its music and action scenes. Now, if you are someone who finds the film more enjoyable because of those aspects, then sure, I can respect that. But I wouldn't say the movie is peak cinema or anything like that. I mean, say what you want about Elio, but at least that film was able to stay on track with its messaging, whereas KPDH sort of contradicted itself towards the end of the film for the sake of having a more visually exciting climax. But honestly, I don't really care about that because in the end, the people who made these films have different intentions. The people at Pixar wanted to make a movie about a young boy with loneliness problems, while Kpop Demon Hunters is about a K-pop group fighting a demon boy band, and I think people who are making these comparisons are just overlooking that fact. And I guess that just leads me to the main problem I have with animation discourse right now. People are using the success of Kpop Demon Hunters and the failure of Elio in theaters to drive the narrative that Disney sucks and Sony is king. Without a doubt, Disney does suck as a company. I've made my own complaints about Disney as well, but crowning Sony as king feels kind of sheepish because that company also has a history of mistreating people behind these animated films. Now, of course, they are the kings in the sense that they have made some really good animated films over the years, from Spider-Verse to Mitchell's vs. the Machines to Kpop Demon Hunters. But similar to DreamWorks, they are notoriously inconsistent. I mean, they are the same studio that made the Emoji Movie, for heaven's sake. Hell, the next movie that's coming out from Sony already doesn't look great to many people. Although, it is too early to judge, I guess. But I can tell already that this film is probably not for me. And for most people, to be frank. My point is that Sony, while they have made some really good films as of late, they have also made some pretty mid to outright bad films throughout its time. They may have the metaphorical crown for now with KPDH, but they don't have the consistency to keep it for long, and other animation studios are also continuing to churn out great films from their end. We're in an era right now where there is no definitive winner for Best Animation Studio, and people online are trying to claim that there is one because the irony is that Disney and Pixar are the only animation studios that actually had a definitive era of dominance. People are just so insistent in wanting to take down Disney that they're willing to gas up their rivals and ignore the problems they have. Ultimately, people should just not use movie comparisons to gas up companies who don't even care about you besides your wallet. You sure give credit where it's due, but also criticize them whenever it's due. And frankly, the fact that people are praising Sony because they let the creators of Kpop Demon Hunters be more free, I feel like that's a very low bar to set when you think about it. Yes, you're praising a company for basically doing less work behind the scenes. Like, okay, I mean, I guess? I feel like that should be the bare minimum that companies should do, to be frank. And if anything, I feel like the main criticism I should give for Sony in this case, for Kpop Demon Hunters, is that why did you not release this in theaters? Because I feel like this movie looks so good, it should just be available in streaming. So yeah, I'm surprised Film 1 hasn't really pointed that out. But even then, one thing to notice is that when a film does turn out to be a banger, then you have to give praise to the artist who made the movie behind the scenes. And I feel like that should come first, not to the company. And finally, when a movie does come out and it turns out great, alright, cool. Enjoy the film and praise it all you want. But can we please do that without shitting on another film that frankly doesn't deserve it? Criticize the company that made that film, sure, but don't let the treatment of that film taint you how you see the final product. For as flawed Elio was, I still enjoyed the film, and it did not deserve to flop. But everyone wrote it off the moment Disney themselves wrote it off, and now the individuals behind the film are not going to get any recognition they deserve for making a film that ultimately still has a bit of heart in it. When you consider all the troubles the film went through, it's honestly more impressive Elio turned out as well as it did, which to me deserves quite a lot of praise actually. I mean, people don't realize that there's a lot of interesting details within Elio itself, like a bunch of the Easter eggs, for example, references every single Pixar film. So, in a way, the people who made this film are trying to pay an homage to Pixar's history, but people don't recognize that because they only notice the flaws, and Disney themselves made those flaws much more apparent by the way they treated it. And I just feel like people writing it off is playing into Disney's hand of like, okay, they see that original movies are flopping, so therefore they're just going to stick to sequels, which I feel like that's a self-fulfilling prophecy for us animation fans. I mean, you people want to see more original films from Disney, okay. But then, like, when Disney comes out with a original film, you guys don't watch it because you have to make some nitpicky complaint, like, say, the art style or something like that, which, okay, fine. If you have a genuine problem with the art style, then okay, alright, whatever. You can constructively criticize that, but you're saying that people who watch it then are just, like, Disney sheep or something like that? I genuinely don't like that narrative, because you're basically alienating people who genuinely like these films, and a lot of them are normies too. So, like, if you're going to criticize Elio, okay, just do it as it is, just by itself. Like, criticize how, yes, the company is mistreated and whatnot, and what the corporate meddling has done to nerf the film. I mean, I have no problem pointing that out. But I feel like that should just be a separate discussion on their own. I do not want to bring in another film as an example to demonstrate on how, like, oh, one company managed to treat this film better. Like, okay, like, give Sony where it's due, but I do not want them to be compared to Disney, because ultimately both companies have different ideas for what an animated should be, and I feel like they should remain independent. I do not really want them to copy one strategy over another. Like, I do not want to see Pixar, for example, like, just straight up copy like the 2D, 3D art style that Sony has, unless if they can make like a certain twist to it that makes them more unique and give them like a visual identity. Like, I mean, Hoppers, for example, I mean, I wouldn't say it's the 2D, 3D hybrid art style, but it does feel like it definitely embraces the idea of it being an animated film, less so trying to push realism like what Pixar used to do before the 2020 films. Yeah, I mean, I can go on about all of this, but the main takeaway you should have from my rambling in this case is just that Disney deserves crap for treating Elio the way it did, but you can still recognize the film turned out alright despite all of its problems, and you have to give the people who made it credit where it's due for being able to go through all of that and still manage to make a film in one piece. And at the other end, yeah, give praise to the people who made Kpop Demon Hunters all you want, because it definitely deserves that. I just feel like we should keep those discussions relatively exclusive because ultimately it leads to a less toxic discussion in the end, and frankly, it makes it more enjoyable for me to talk about animation as someone who genuinely really enjoys the medium, and I feel like more people should get into it. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about Elio, Kpop Demon Hunters, and just the general discourse of animated movies, to be frank. If you guys have anything to say about these topics, feel free to write your thoughts down in the comments below, and please give this video a like, and subscribe for more content like this. With all that said, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all have a great day. See you in the next one.